Elden Ring's DLC concludes with a stunning clash between the Tarnished and Miquella's promised consort, Radahn. But what if I told you that Miquella's first choice was not Radahn, but Godwyn, the Golden Child and Martyr of the demigods? This video will explore the evidence for and against this theory to see just how plausible it is that Miquella originally intended for Godwyn to usher in his Age of Kindness. Before we start, please note that I am assuming viewers' pre-existing knowledge of Elden Ring's key characters and events, so I will only provide a detailed breakdown when it is directly relevant to proving or disproving the central thesis of this video. With that out of the way, let's get into it. In the mountaintops of the Giants at Castle Sol, a small but dedicated faction of worshippers dedicate themselves to bringing about an eclipse. At the aptly named Church of the Eclipse, located just before Commander Neil's boss fight, a spirit NPC pleads with the sun itself. "Oh, great sun, frigid son of Sol, surrender yourself to the eclipse. Grant life to soulless bones." According to their beliefs, the eclipse has the power to re-imbue life into soulless bodies. But just who are they trying to revive, and why? Another spirit NPC, located on top of the tower behind Neil's boss arena, gives us our answer. "Lord Miquella, forgive me. The sun has not been swallowed. Our prayers were lacking. Your comrade remains soulless. I will never set my eyes upon it now, your divine Erdtree." This dialogue makes it clear that under the command, or perhaps influence, of Miquella, the inhabitants of Castle Sol sought to revive one of Miquella's comrades, with a further implication that they would receive entry into the Erdtree, or rather its main city embrace, Elphiel, as a reward for their success. This fallen comrade of Miquella's is none other than Godwyn the Golden, first of the demigods to die on the Night of the Black Knives. But how do we know for certain? The Eclipse Shotl, one of the legendary armaments and treasure of Castle Sol, depicts an eclipsed sun drained of color, and can be set ablaze with the Prince of Death's flames. We know that Godwyn's corpse is referred to as the Prince of Death, confirming, at the very least, his affiliation with Castle Sol and the Eclipse. Yet we can go further with this. The Golden Epitaph, an armament made to commemorate Godwyn's death, is infused with the humble prayer of a young boy, stating, "Oh, brother, Lord brother, please die a true death." The young boy mentioned in the item description refers to Godwyn as his Lord Brother, making it clear beyond a shadow of a doubt the young boy in question is indeed Miquella. Oh, and please take note of the phrase Lord Brother, that's going to be important later. Based on what we have discussed, we can confidently assert that Miquella intended to revive Godwyn's soul and grant him a true death, that is, a death in body and soul. However, this alone is not conclusive evidence that Miquella first sought Godwyn as his promised consort. For that, we need to explore further. We know that Miquella's end goal is to usher in an Age of Kindness, and that Miquella will eventually seek Radahn to serve as his lord. According to the remembrance of a god and a lord, Radahn was chosen because of his strength, kindness, and lack of affliction by another god. Please note that the remembrance item description also presents some potential counter-evidence to our theory that we'll discuss later on. As far as we know, Godwyn also perfectly embodied these traits, strength, kindness, and lack of affliction, before his demise. According to the Lightning Spirit incantation, Godwyn the Golden defeated the ancient dragon Fordysax and befriended his fallen foe, an event that gave rise to the ancient dragon cult in the capital. This event alone shows us that Godwyn has not only the strength to defeat the dragons, but also the kindness to befriend them and even integrate their practices into the Golden Order. So, if Godwyn was an ideal candidate and had the potential to be granted the true death, and could therefore be revived in Mohg's corpse in the Land of Shadow, then why do we end up facing off with Radahn instead? To state the obvious, an eclipse is an astronomical event that occurs when a celestial body is temporarily obscured by passing into the shadow of another body, or by having another body pass between it and the viewer. For this to happen, astronomical bodies must be able to move freely according to the laws of physics, or in our case, the metaphysical laws that govern the world of Elden Ring. But Radahn waged war against the stars, halting their celestial movements. In doing so, he not only earned himself the Starscourge moniker, but also he arrested the fates of demigods. The Amber Starlight item description reads, "The stars command our fates, then amber-hued stars must command the fates of the gods. Without the movement of the stars, there could be no eclipse." The spirit NPC mentioned earlier has a sense of finality about the unsummoned eclipse. The sun has not been swallowed. I will never set my eyes upon it now, your divine Erdtree. They appear aware that they will never get the reward of entering Elfile, Brace of the Erdtree, suggesting they know that the eclipse is permanently thwarted. But shouldn't all that change after Radahn's death? While this is highly speculative, it is possible that tampering with the stars permanently altered their celestial patterns, or perhaps other fates, such as Ranni's, were able to take cosmic precedence as the path to Nokron was opened by a falling star almost immediately after Radahn's death. Either way, the morale at Castle Sol suggests that the opportunity to revive Godwyn has passed, and that he will remain forever the soulless Prince of Death. And so Miquella would need a new lord, another who embodied strength and kindness, and who was without affliction. He found that lord in Radahn, who had faced down the Tarnished a second time, now at the Gate of Divinity, with the fate of the lands between hanging in the balance. So far, everything I've discussed represents evidence and interpretations supporting the theory that Godwyn was Miquella's first choice to be his lord. However, there is some evidence that appears to refute this claim. Let's take a look. In my original short on this topic, some commenters pointed to Miquella's memory cutscenes as hard proof that this theory is not viable. Miquella says, "Lord brother, I'm going to be a god. If we honor our part of the vow, promise me you'll be my consort. I'll make the world a gentler place." However, we don't know when Miquella said this. As we know, Miquella is cursed with eternal childhood, and so his appearance in the cutscene is consistent with how he would have looked until the moment he embedded himself into the Erdtree. The cutscene could easily have taken place after the Shattering, when the demigods were all in Leyndell, a gathering we can be confident happened because of the presence of all their thrones just before Morgoth's boss fight. It's also worth noting that Miquella refers to Radahn as Lord Brother, a term he uses to refer to Godwyn as well in his prayer on the Golden Epitaph. While this could just be royal etiquette, it is also possible that he is referring to his chosen lord at the time. If the latter is the case, then this cutscene would actually prove that Godwyn was, at one point, Miquella's desired lord. Some also pointed to Malenia's dialogue with Radahn during the Battle of Aeonia as evidence against the Godwyn first theory. According to the young lion's helm, she whispered, "Miquella awaits thee, O promised consort," to Radahn just before the wrought flower bloomed. However, the Battle of Aeonia took place after both the Shattering and the Starscourge conflict, meaning Miquella could have already changed his plans to include Radahn rather than Godwyn due to the circumstances around the eclipse. What I am surprised that nobody brought up as counter-evidence is the remembrance of a god and a lord, which to me is the strongest piece of evidence against this theory. The item reads, "In their childhood, Miquella saw in Radahn a lord, his strength and his kindness that stood in stark contrast with their afflicted selves. And so Miquella made his heartfelt wish that Radahn would one day be his king consort." The interpretation of this description, and therefore the validity of the Godwyn first theory, hinges on two words: their childhood. If one interprets this to mean Miquella and Radahn's childhood, that would place Miquella's intentions and the memory cutscene before the Night of the Black Knives and the Shattering, disproving the theory. However, Malenia and Miquella are the youngest of Marika's children, and were born after Radahn returned from having Radahn, Ranni, and Rykard with Rennala. Therefore, it is unlikely that Miquella and Radahn had overlapping childhood years, though it is still a possibility that can't fully be ruled out. So what is meant by their childhood? Before abandoning Saint Trina, Miquella was a dual being just like Radahn and Marika. Given the importance of Saint Trina in the DLC, it could be that the item description is vaguely referring to Miquella's original dualistic self. However, this is just speculation, as the wording is vague either way. So, where does that leave us? After presenting the Godwyn first theory, backing it up with evidence, and then looking at the evidence against it, we can definitively say, well, nothing. Unless we get further content or interviews that confirm or deny anything stated in this video, we can't say for certain whether Miquella originally chose Godwyn as his promised consort. But I do believe this theory is a viable interpretation of the lore. If you disagree, I hope at the very least that you found this theory entertaining. Feel free to comment your thoughts, your own interpretations, and any evidence for or against the Godwyn first theory that you think I might have overlooked. As a final note, please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video. It really helps grow the channel and every click counts. Thank you, and see you next time.